Well, briefly, Minister, Brussels is about to decree that there should be a new European identity card to be carried by all citizens of the EEC. Now, the Foreign Office is quite ready to go along with it as a quid pro quo for a deal over the Buttermount and the Wine Lake and the Milk Ocean. The Lamb War and the Cod Stink.
Trying to make British people carry compulsory identification papers? They'll say I'm introducing a police state again. Is this what we fought 2 world wars for, Humphrey?
Wonderful ammunition for the anti-Europeans.
Yes, don't the Foreign Office realise what damage this will do to the European idea?
Well, I'm sure they do. That's why they support it.
Well, surely the Foreign Office is pro-Europe, isn't it?
Yes and no. If you'll forgive the expression. The Foreign Office is pro-Europe because it is really anti-Europe. The civil service was united in its desire to make sure that the common market didn't work. That's why we went into it.
What are you talking about?
Minister, Britain has had the same foreign policy objective for at least the last 500 years, to create a disunited Europe. In that cause, we have fought with the Dutch against the Spanish, with the Germans against the French, with the French and Italians against the Germans, and with the French against the Germans and Italians. Divide and rule, you see. Why should we change now, when it's worked so well?
That's all. Ancient history, surely.
Yes, and current policy. We had to break the whole thing up, so we had to get inside. We tried to break it up from the outside, but that wouldn't work. Now that we're inside, we can make a complete pig's breakfast of the whole thing. Set the Germans against the French against the Italians against the Dutch. The Foreign Office is terribly pleased. It's just like old times.
Surely we're all committed to the European ideal.
Really, Minister?
If not, why are we pressing for an increase in the membership?
Well, for the same reason. It's just like the United Nations, in fact. The more members it has, the more arguments it can stir up, the more futile and impotent it becomes.
What appalling cynicism.
Yes. We call it diplomacy, Minister.
But how will the other EEC countries feel about having to carry identity papers? Won't they resist too?
No, the Germans love it. The French will ignore it. The Italians and the Irish will be too chaotic to enforce it. It's only the British who will resent it. Well, Minister, I'm afraid that is the penalty we have to pay for trying to pretend that we're Europeans. But it could well be argued that given the absurdity of the whole European idea, that Brussels is in fact doing its best to defend the indefensible and to make the unworkable work.
That is simply not true, Humphrey. Huh? I don't want to sound pompous, but the European idea is our best hope of avoiding narrow national self-interest.
That doesn't sound pompous, Minister.
Good.
Merely inaccurate.
Listen, humble vessel. Europe is a community of nations dedicated towards one goal.
Oh.
Now, may we share the joke, Humphrey?
Oh, Minister. Now, let's look at this objectively. It is a game played for national interests and always was. Why do you suppose we went into it?
To strengthen the brotherhood of free Western nations.
Oh, really? We went in to screw the French by splitting them off from the Germans.
Well, why did the French go into it, then?
Well, to protect their inefficient farmers from commercial competition.
It certainly doesn't apply to the Germans.
No, they went in to cleanse themselves of genocide and apply for readmission to the human race.
I never heard such appalling cynicism. Well, at least the small nations didn't go into it for selfish reasons.
Oh, really? Luxembourg's in it for the perks. The capital of the EEC, all that foreign money pouring in.
Very sensible central location.
With the administration in Brussels and the parliament in Strasbourg. Minister, it's like having the House of Commons in Swindon and the civil service in Kettering.
If this were true, why would the other nations have been trying to get in?
Such as?
Well, take the Greeks.
Actually, I find it difficult to take the Greeks. Open-minded as I am about foreigners, as you both well know. But what will they want out of it? An olive mountain and a Retsina lake?
I just don't accept any of this,
Oh, I'm
Humphrey.
so sorry, Minister. I suppose some of your best friends are Greeks.
No, very dry. The trouble with Brussels is not internationalism, it's too much bureaucracy.
But the bureaucracy is a consequence of the internationalism. Why else would there be an English commissioner with a French director general immediately below him and an Italian chef de division reporting to the Frenchman and so on down the line?
Oh, I agree.
It's like the Tower of Babel.
I agree.
No, it's even worse. It's like the United Nations.
I agree.
Then perhaps, if I may interject, you are in fact in agreement.
No, we're not.
Brussels is a shambles. You know what they say about the average common market official? He has the organising ability of the Italians, the flexibility of the Germans, and the modesty of the French. And that's topped up by the imagination of the Belgians, the generosity of the Dutch, and the intelligence of the Irish. It's all a great big gravy train.
What do you mean?
They live on champagne and caviar, chauffeur-driven Mercedes, private aeroplanes. Every one of those officials has got his snout in the trough. Most of them have got their two front trotters in as well.
Oh, Minister, I beg to differ. Brussels is full of busy, hard-working public servants who have to endure a lot of exhausting travel and tedious entertainment.
Oh, terribly tedious. Working their way through all that smoked salmon, forcing back all that champagne.
Well, in any